it's April from April's Home, and today I'm here with my third makeup declutter. Today I will be focused on 4 different types of makeup: my highlighters, my foundations and primers, and blushes. So I have a bunch here, as you can see. I believe that this is going to be my toughest declutter. I don't know that I will get rid of that many items because for the foundation and primer category, I don't buy that many. I'm not a big collector of those types of items. I'm just really beginning dabbling in primers and things like that. And I just don't buy that many foundations. And highlighters, I buy a lot of highlighters, but I really love my highlighters a lot. And blushes is a category that I tend to not really over purchase. So we'll see how this declutter goes. It'll be interesting to see how many I can pare this down to. This is the amount of storage that I typically devote to my blushes and highlighters and foundations and primers. And you can see I also have this tote full of highlighters and blush as well. I would definitely love to pare this collection down a little bit. I don't like the way that it fits in my storage area. I do not have a great deal of space to devote to makeup storage, so it's really important that I get some of this decluttered a bit. So I'm going to start out like I do with all of my declutter videos and get these organized by category. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now and get these all separated out by category, and then I'll come back and we'll start with our first category, primers. Okay, so I have all of my categories separated, and this is the first category. These are all like primers, setting sprays, things like that. So this is all I have. As you can see, it's not a very big collection. This was a category that up until a couple of years ago I was largely unfamiliar with. I'm still kind of remembering to even do the primer step, and yeah, it's just fairly new for me, so I don't have a big collection of it. And this should be pretty easy. So this is the new Tarte Eye Base. I actually really love it. I love the packaging, and so far I'm really enjoying how this is working. I like the way you can just use this little pot here, and it's been working out really well. So this is definitely a keep. This is Fake Up, and I just don't find myself using this, so I will go ahead and declutter this. And at the end I'll give a tally of everything that I've gotten rid of and everything that I've kept. So this is the Urban Decay All Nighter Makeup Setting Spray, and this is something that I just recently started using. This has been so helpful throughout these really humid summery days in keeping my makeup staying put, so I'm really liking this, and I'll definitely purchase a full size when I've used this one up, so I'll go ahead and keep this. This is the Urban Decay Anti-Aging Eyeshadow Primer Potion. This is starting to get on a little bit in age, but I still think I have a few more months of use out of this. And I'm going to kind of be comparing this with the eye base here from Tarte and see which one I like better, or if it's worth just keeping both and then replacing this when it gets a little bit older. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this for now. This is the Ulta Beauty Tinted Eye Primer. This was a little bonus. And let me see what this is like. I didn't think it was quite that hard to get out when I first got this. It might be drying up a little bit, or that just might be the formula. I'm not sure. It's kind of interesting that it's a little sparkly like this. It's got a little bit of shimmer to it. But I'm just not convinced that I'll use this, so rather than having this hanging out in my drawer taking up space, I think I'll pass this along. And then I have 2 from Smashbox here. These are both sample sizes. This is the Photo Finish Foundation Primer, and this is the Photo Finish Foundation Primer Pore Minimizing Formula. I haven't used much of either of these. I think I'll go ahead and keep this classic and continue trying it out, and this one I think I'll pass along. Then I have a bunch of samples. I get so many samples of this Porefessional formula. I really would like to try this out a bit more. I think I'll go ahead and pass one along and keep 2. And I'm going to go ahead and keep both of these samples of the Shadow Insurance Too Faced Eyeshadow Primer and give this a try as well. This is the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer Water, also something that, as you can see, I've just barely experimented with, and I would really like to experiment with this more this summer and see if this is something that I would like to make part of my routine, so I'll keep that. And then I have 2 of the e.l.f. Mineral Infused Face Primers and the Tone Adjusting Face Primer. I don't really use this Tone Adjusting Face Primer. It is supposed to correct red, and you can see it comes out really green there, but it didn't seem to do much. I have very reddish skin. It just didn't seem to do much in the way of minimizing that. So I don't know that that's really necessary for me. I still am really on the lookout for some sort of tone adjusting, item at some point. So I think for now, since this isn't something that I use a great deal of anyway, I'll go ahead and declutter this tone adjusting one here and keep the mineral infused face primer, which I have used a few times and I actually really like the feel of. I do love the texture, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this and see how I like this a little bit more in comparison to the Smashbox. So those are the items that I'm keeping, and these are the items that I'm tossing in this category. Here are all of my foundation and concealer type products. As you can see, I don't really collect a bunch of these, so I don't have a ton to get rid of, but it's still worth looking through. So let's go ahead and start with the powders here. This is my favorite powder. I used to always just get CoverGirl, and then I discovered this Tarte one here, Confidence Creamy Powder Foundation in Fairlight Neutral. As you can see, I've made a pretty good dent in this year. It just goes on so nicely. I use this almost every day when I'm putting on makeup. So this is definitely my favorite powder, and I'll be keeping that. And then this is one from e.l.f. here. This is just their finishing powder. It does come with a nice mirror, and underneath is a little sponge. I just didn't really like this formula. It just didn't go on quite as nicely as I would like. So I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one. And then this is by Sonia Kashuk. This is brightening powder, and it's just not something I really use at all. So I'm going to go ahead and declutter this as well. And this is from NYX. This is a green concealer. It's supposed to be that sort of color correcting again. And this just went on my skin really, really dry. I already suffer from pretty dry skin, and this just seemed to make it worse, and it didn't blend out right at all. So I'm going to go ahead and declutter this one. And I'm still kind of on the market for a green correcting powder or foundation or something like that. This is my concealer, my under eye concealer that I use every day. It's my favorite, the Neutrogena Hydro Boost Hydrating Concealer with hyaluronic acid. I just absolutely love this. Has like a little moisturizing core there, and it just works wonderfully, so I'll keep that. I also have the other concealer, the one with a little sponge top that you kind of wind up, and I can't remember where that is. It might be in one of my travel bags. I do like that one as well, and I would continue repurchasing it. So those are my only two concealers. I have a bunch of the Born This Way foundation samples. I'm still interested in trying this. I've gone through a few of these so far trying to find the best color for me. It's nice to have samples of foundation. My skin reacts very sensitively to foundations. I've had some very bad reactions to some in the past. I still haven't really pinned down the ingredients, so I'm kind of always a little trepidatious about trying new ones. That's why you see so few here. This one might be one that I consider trying in the future. I don't have any high-end foundations. As you can also see, these are all just drugstore options, but I really like the ones that I do have. So this is one that I'd like to continue trying out though, so I'll keep those. This is one that I used for quite a while here. For the longest time, I would just use the original CoverGirl foundation, just the classic one that I used, in high school and stuff like that. Then when my skin started aging a little bit more, I went to this CC cream that I do really like, but it just goes on a little bit dry. And this is also probably getting a little bit on the old side. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this one along. My favorite one from CoverGirl right now is this one, the CoverGirl CG Smoothers. This is a hydrating, really nice hydrating formula for dry skin, and this is in the color Classic Ivory 710, and I'll definitely be keeping this one. I really like it. This is another CoverGirl one that I also really like. This is the CoverGirl Outlast Stay Luminous in the Natural Glow 810, also Classic Ivory. So that's also a keeper. I would still definitely like to experiment with more foundations for sure. This one is my favorite. I use this. This is the one I've been most grabbing for. It's a nice light coverage. It doesn't go on super heavy, which I like during the summer. Just gives a really nice natural look. It's also hydrating, which I love. Again, with my dry skin, it's really important to have a nice hydrating foundation. And this just goes on with like a giant doe foot applicator, which just makes applying it really, really easy. This is in the color Classic Ivory as well, number 10, and I'll definitely be keeping this, and I would repurchase this too. This is a great one. So then I definitely wanted to try another cushion foundation. Last year I tried the the Lumi cushion, but it broke my face out terribly, and I got rid of it right away. I was very allergic to it. This Maybelline one, I was a little hesitant. I was so worried I was going to be allergic to this one as well, but I'm not. It's a different formula, and I really love this. I love cushion foundations, so I definitely want to pick this up in a 10 or 15. This one's a 20. They were out of 10 or 15 when I purchased this, and so I thought I'd give this a try. It's a little dark for me most of the time, but my skin has been getting some sun, and it's getting a little bit darker for the summer, so this will definitely work out for the rest of summer. And then I'll definitely have to pick up a 10 or 15, probably both, to try out. The 10 is a little on the light side, 15 is a little on the pink side, so I have to see which one is best, but it's worth the investment. I really like this formula a lot, so I'll be keeping that. So as you can see, a pretty simple, basic amount of foundation as well as concealers. Not very many, and I think that that's pretty good. I got rid of a couple of powders and one of the foundations. Okay, so now on to my highlighters. This is the toughest category. I love my highlighters. I love all the different highlighters I have. I use them all very regularly. I interchange them and use a lot of them all the time. I love experimenting with highlighters. I just think that they're super fun, and I probably won't be getting rid of very many of these because I love experimenting with them, and it just doesn't make sense to get rid of products that I love and bring me a great deal of joy. I love highlighters. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with a few of the palettes here. This is the Sephora Pro palette of their dimensional highlighters, and they're a really unique formula. As you can see, they're just like a nice, glossy, interesting formula. They go on so nicely. Again, with my dry skin, sometimes if it's extra dry, I don't want to add an additional powder, and this just gives a really nice glow. I would highly recommend this for anyone else with dry skin or mature skin. It just seems to do a great job. I love to put this on the top of my cheekbones. It just gives a nice glisten. I kind of just blend it in, and I just love it. So I will definitely be keeping this palette. And this is Tarte Rainforest of the Sea, the Skin Twinkle Volume 2 palette. I haven't used this as much as I thought I would. I'm still going to keep it. Let's go ahead and swatch some of these. So they go on really pretty. They're definitely pretty colors, but they're a little chunkier than I typically like. But I'm going to go ahead and keep this for now and continue experimenting with these. I do typically love the Tarte formula. I wasn't as happy with this as I thought I would be, but it's definitely still worth keeping and trying out a little bit more. Here's a little sample from Ivy Beauty. It's also a really pretty one, but I have so many other similar ones that I think I'll go ahead and pass this one along so I don't have a small one kind of cluttering up my area. And this is a highlighter one. I don't use this very frequently. It's just such pretty packaging that I'm going to keep it just for the look of it and the fun of it if I ever want to play around with this, or let my niece play around with it or something like that. So definitely going to keep that. Here's another sort of glossy highlighter. This is by Winky Lux, and it is their Lightbox highlighter called Lit. And it is just so beautiful. You can see how glossy that goes on, and it's just super pretty. You really do, you know, I have to blend it out a bit so it's not super shockingly bright, but look how highlighty that is. It's so pretty. I just love it. So that's definitely a keeper. This is my Dandelion Twinkle Powder by Benefit. This is also something I really love. It's just so pretty. I really love it. It's just a nice twinkle. Definitely a keeper. This is one, I believe, from Estee Lauder. It is their limited edition all over shimmer. And it's a little bit dark. It's almost like a cross between a highlighter, a bronzer, and a blush. It's really pretty, but it is just not the right color for me. You can see it's a little too orangey and pigmented for either a blush. It's too sort of sparkly for a blush and too dark for a highlighter, and just not quite the right color. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this along. Here's a little small travel size from Too Faced in their Snow Bunny. I got this at Christmas in one of the little kits. And it has sort of like a highlighter and a bronzer to it. I haven't experimented with this too much, but it does go on pretty when you mix them all together. So I do think I'll continue giving this a try. Plus it would be nice to throw in a travel bag. This is my Hourglass powder. It isn't really a highlighter, it's a lighting powder in luminous light. I do wear this as a highlighter a lot for my almost an everyday look. I love this stuff, definitely keeping it. I would love to experiment with more colors, but this one in luminous light is so pretty, I just love it. This is a newer one that I got as a sample, a bonus sample from Tarte. It is a very beautiful color. You can see it just goes on really pretty. It is not chunky, and this is another one that I'll definitely want to keep and try out more. This is my Urban Decay Naked Illuminated Fireball. I just recently got this, and I absolutely love it. This is not only just for, you know, face highlight, this is for all over highlight, and it is just so sparkly and pretty. I just love it. So this is definitely a keeper. Again, most of these I will be keeping, just so you know, I just love my highlighters. This is by Winky Lux. This is a diamond complexion powder. Again, this is not a traditional highlighter. It's sort of like an illuminating powder, but it is really pretty. I love it. You can see it goes on just more like a powder, but I just love it. Again, it's just a nice illuminating sort of powder. I may end up actually putting this over with my powders and foundations, but that is definitely a keep. And then this is my Too Faced Candlelight Glow, another classic product. Mine is in Rosy Glow. This one here, I just love this. This is another one that I use a lot. One of the ones that, if I don't want to think about it, this is one that I definitely reach for. So that's definitely a keeper. This is a sample I recently received from Urban Decay, the Afterglow 8-Hour Powder Highlighter. I think I got this in a subscription box or something. I would still like to continue experimenting with this one. I haven't gotten around to using this much, so I'll be keeping that one. This is a little liquid highlighter from e.l.f. And I like it, but I have a couple others that I like better, so I think I'll go ahead and pass this one along. This is a special one here. This is from MAC's Star Trek 50th Anniversary Collection. I love this highlighter. It's so pretty. You can see how swirly it is. This was in the color Luna Luster. And it's just also really, really beautiful. Really pretty highlighter there. So you can see that. It's just super pretty. It's a little on the like sparkly side, but I still really love this. I'll definitely keep this one. Then here is one from ColourPop. This is in Smoke and Whistles Super Shock Cheek. And this one is probably a little bit on the dark side. I do like the formula. It's super pretty. It actually doesn't go on as dark as I thought. I'm going to go ahead and put this one in the maybe and kind of compare it to some of my other ColourPop ones. I don't tend to reach for these as often as others, but that is a really pretty color now that I look at it. Here's one from Becca. This is in the color Rose Gold, and I have got some use out of it. So you can see there, it's a little dark for me as well. You can see, wow, it's a little bit dark, but it does blend out pretty nicely. I think for now, I'm going to keep this. But this might be something I get rid of in the future. It's just a little on the dark side. I tend to like my highlighters a little lighter. And now let's go ahead and take a look at these other ColourPop ones. Here's this one here called Strapped. And this is what this one looks like. They're so soft, these ColourPop ones. I just love that. That one also goes on dark. This one actually goes on darker. It's almost more like pink, a pinky color. I'm also going to put this with the maybe over here and kind of decide between these two. And this one is in the color Road Trip. It's very pretty. It's got lots of little flecks of different colors in there. That's kind of interesting. That's pretty. Yeah, let's see. That's a little bit on the sparkly side for me. You can see kind of some bigger flecks of glitteriness in there. It's really smooth though. It's not like it's having a ton of fallout or anything. It's just really sparkly. So all three of these are in the maybes. I'm going to have to think about these a little bit more. I know I'm going to get rid of at least one of those. And then this is Hourglass, another of their ambient lighting powders. This is in Ethereal Light. This is quite a bit lighter than I had originally thought. You can see how light that is. But again, I still really like this lighting powder, so I think I'll keep that. You can see that it just gives this nice luminous glow. So that's definitely one I'm going to keep. Here's one I know I'm done with. This is the e.l.f. Radiance Enhancer. It's the sort that has like a little brush. And it's just getting a little bit old and I just don't reach for it. So this one I'll pass along. And then here's another one that I know I'm passing along. This is Benefits High Beam. I just don't reach for this very often. And then here are a couple more from MAC. These are from their Trolls line. This is Glow Rita. It is probably a little bit more like a bronzer and a highlighter mixed together, but it's really pretty. I think this might be really nice for the summer. Yeah, so you can see it's just a super light sort of luminous bronzy color. So I think I'll keep this one and kind of experiment with this more this summer. And this is another one of the Trolls MAC ones here called Play It Proper. This is a beauty powder, sort of a nice just glowy powder. This is another one I actually really love. So it's just pretty, just a nice luminous sort of powder. Just goes on really nice and light, but this just has an ever so slightly nice glisten to it, and this is another one I'll definitely be keeping. I think it's so cute and I love using this. Here are two from e.l.f. This is the All Over Color Stick. This one is in the color Spotlight, and I use this all the time. Goes on really nice. You can just blend it out. It's just a nice, pretty highlighter there. I love that one, and it smells really good. And then this one is called Persimmon. This one might be a little dark. Let me go ahead and see what this one's like. I was originally going to consider getting rid of this one because it's a little dark, but I kind of like it. It's a little bit on the pinky side, so I'm going to try this for a little bit longer. I just love this All Over Color Stick from e.l.f. It smells really good, it goes on so nicely, and it is very inexpensive. And then we have two liquid ones here, the True Match Illumi Liquid Glow Illuminator and Tarte's Brighter Days. I love both of these. I especially love this True Match Illumi. This is one that I just fell in love with when it first came out. I definitely need to use this more often. It's just so pretty. I love it. And I definitely need to use this up because it's starting to get a little on the older side. It's probably pushing definitely more than a year, so I may have to pick up another one. But this is one I really love, so I'll be keeping that. And this is the Tarte Brighter Days, and it is something newer that I haven't experimented with very much, but I do like it. It's very nice. This is a highlighting moisturizer, so I think you might be able to use this, you know, on just your skin, like your arms or something like that as well. So definitely need to experiment with that more. And then I have this one here from Laura Geller. This is the Easy Illuminating Stick. I love this color. It's so pretty. And it's nice that it winds up. And it just goes on so nice, just like this. You can see how pretty that glow is. It has sort of like a pinky, holographic-y glow to it. So that's definitely a keeper. And then this is a little sample from Cover FX, and it's in the color Moonlight. I'll definitely be keeping that one, as well as this one here. These are my Halo Cover FX drops that I was just so excited to receive. I still haven't played around with these as much as I would like to, but I just love experimenting with these sort of holographic colors. I just have so much fun playing around with these. They're so pretty. I love that. Look at that. It's so pretty, and I would love to try mixing this in with foundation or something like that. So that's definitely something I'm keeping, and I'm really going to enjoy playing around with that more. These are two from NYX. They're also really similar in color to those. These are the Away We Glow Liquid Highlighters. Let's go ahead and check these out. I don't like how they just have such a hard time coming out of the bottle. They just kind of pop out because they're kind of stuck in there a little bit. I'll have to work on that a little bit. That one's pretty bright. But it is really pretty. Again, this is something I'd probably like to continue experimenting with rather than just getting rid of it, but this would probably be on the chopping block. If I didn't find that I was using it very frequently, this might be something I passed along. But they're so pretty. I think I'm going to continue experimenting with these. So you can see I'm not getting rid of a ton of highlighters. I just love all the highlighters I pick out, so I don't really want to just get rid of them. This is by Tracetique. This is a little stick highlighter that I got in a subscription box, and since I do have so many, I'll go ahead and pass this one along. And then here are some other little ones here. This one is by Too Faced. This is Rosy Glow. This is the same as the bigger one. I'm going to go ahead and put this in my travel bag. I love the cute little size of this, and I'll definitely use it. It's my favorite, so it's nice to have in a travel size. This is also by Laura Geller. It came out around the same time as the Illuminating Stick back there. This is in the color Diamond Dust, and I just love this color. You can see how pretty it is. It's so glistening and pretty. I just love it. It's got sort of a lavender shift, and it's just beautiful. So that's definitely a keeper. This is more like for just fun. All of my sort of holographic highlighters I love to play around with, put a touch here and there. Sometimes just a little touch of this on the top of my cheekbones. I just love these fun holographic colors. And these are sort of like drugstore dupes to the duochrome and holographic highlighters. This is by NYX. It's their duochromatic illuminating powder in the color Twilight Tint. And I believe this has sort of like a teal shift to it. And it's really pretty. This is one I'm experimenting with more, but will probably declutter because I have so many other really nice ones over here. But I do like this, and it's definitely a great drugstore option. This is the other one I have from the same line, and it is called Lavender Steel. And that's what this one looks like. It's really pretty, but I don't actually use the lavender color very often, so I think I'm going to go ahead and see if my daughter wants to try this one out. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the declutter pile. And then here are 4 of my sort of unique duochrome holographic highlighters. This is the Alchemist palette. Now this one can also be used for eyes, but I just kept it in the highlighter category because that's just the way I think of this palette. And see all of the pretty colors. They look just like white, but they all have like gorgeous shifting colors to it. I just love them. They're just really, really pretty and fun to play around with. So this is definitely a keeper. I love my Moonchild palette. It's so fun to play around with. You can see all the beautiful colors there, just so unique. That's also definitely a keeper, as is my new Anastasia Aurora palette. Such unique and beautiful colors. So, so pretty. I just love them. And again, some can be used for eye looks. It's not just only for highlighting. Like this would be more for eyes. Probably this as well. But just definitely fun. Fun to play around with. And I like them a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and keep those. And then this is the BH Cosmetics version of the funky holographic highlighters. This is the Black Light Highlight Palette. And this is another one that I'll be keeping and experimenting with more. It's very similar colors. Huge pans here in comparison. Definitely a great value. And the colors are really beautiful. Here's this blue one here. And you can just see how pretty that is. It's just a beautiful, you know, illuminating blue color. So pretty, very neat, and fun to play around with. That is also a keeper. And then this one here, this is the Too Faced Sweet Peach Glow Palette. I've put it here in the highlighters, but it really has a blush, a highlighter, and a bronzer. It smells wonderful, and I really do like this a lot. However, I find that I just don't use this blush color. I have the Papa Don't Peach already, which I tend to grab for more often. I don't use bronzers very frequently, and this one's a little sparkly. And I have a lot of highlighters like this, and I know that my son's fiance has really been wanting this palette. And rather than her going off and buying a new one, since this is hardly been touched, I think I'm going to go ahead and pass this along to her. I think she'll get a lot more use out of it. It's definitely something I love. I love that it's in this tin packaging and it matches my peach collection, but I think I will go ahead and pass this along to her. And then to decide between these 3 color pops here, I think I will go ahead and get rid of this one here, the one called Road Trip. It's a little bit too sparkly, so I'll go ahead and pass that one along and then keep these 2 for now. It looks like these are the only ones we are decluttering, which is definitely not very impressive, but I love my highlighters, and I don't want to get rid of any of them. I think that they're great, and I'll see what I can use up this year. I'll definitely try to not buy as many highlighters as I have been in the past while I kind of use these up. I did get a couple new ones from Becca that I'll be reviewing in an upcoming video, and those are obviously going to be keeps for now while I try them out also. But for now, I think I'll definitely have to kind of curb my highlighter purchasing. I do have a lot of them, but I just love them all. I think they're so fun. And now I'll go ahead and set up the next category, blush and bronze. Okay, so lastly, here are all of my blushes as well as the very few bronzers that I have. So I thought I would just keep them all in one category. Again, because I don't have a crazy ton of products here, I will probably not get rid of that many. So let's go ahead and start with the bronzers. I have fairly fair skin and I just don't use much bronzer. Some of these I'll go ahead and keep, but I'll probably put them down in another drawer that I don't reach for that often. Just in case I ever feel like experimenting with them again in the future. This is the Chocolate Soleil Bronzer by Too Faced in medium deep brown. And this is just going to be too dark for me. We'll put this down in storage. I may want to experiment with it in the future if I ever get a little bit better at bronzer, but I think I'm going to take it out of my regular makeup area. This is the Hoola Bronzer by Benefit. This is also too dark for me. I definitely want to experiment with Hoola Light. I tried it out in the store the other day in Sephora. I swatched it, and it definitely seemed like it would work a lot better. This one is just way too dark for me. It ends up just looking silly when I try to use it. So I also probably just don't know how to use it quite right. But for now, I think I'll put this in storage just so I have bronzer if I need to, but this one's even darker than the Chocolate Soleil. So I definitely need to invest in some lighter colored bronzers. So I will put this in the probably I'm going to put this in a pile that's just to kind of store away for reference, and just, you know, if someone comes over that needs bronzer, something like that. It's good to have a classic product like this on hand, but I definitely won't be using this, so it doesn't need to be cluttering up my everyday makeup drawers. And then this is a little sample from Ciate London. It's also a bronzer. The bamboo bronzer in the color, I think, Palm Island. And actually this is one that I've been trying out a little bit more frequently, and it's a little closer. Well, it is still kind of dark, but it is definitely lighter than these two. So I think I will go ahead and keep this out and continue trying to experiment with bronzer a little bit. This is definitely a nice tiny size, so I think that this can go ahead and hang out in my makeup drawer for now. So that one's a keep. And I think for the most part, aside from maybe in this palette here, that is all the bronzers I even have. So now let's go ahead and start with all of these blush here. Let's talk about this. This is Too Faced Papa Don't Peach. I love this. I think that the packaging is so cute. Here's the color. It's a very pretty color. It's a little on the dark side for me, but it blends out, as you can see, really nicely. So I do like this, and I get a lot of use out of this. And this is a sample one from Tarte called Blissful. And let's see this one. This is a little on the dark side for me, so I think I'm going to go ahead and pass this one along. And then here are two little sample sizes from Benefit. This is Hoola here. I'm going to go ahead and put this one. Actually, if I'm saving the full size one, I don't really need to keep this travel size one, so I'm going to go ahead and pass this along. And then this is a travel size of Dandelion. I love Dandelion. It's so pretty. It's definitely one of the colors I use most often. Just super subtle and pretty. It is one of my favorites. So I definitely need to put this in my to-go bag. This is a mini size of the box blush, but this is more travel size. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in my travel bag, and this one I'll definitely be keeping. And let's just go ahead and talk about the rest of the Benefit blushes. They are probably, Benefit and the Balm are my favorite blush formula. I absolutely love them. My Benefit blushes are my favorite, and I just love Rock Tour. This one's one that I reach for most often. I would say that this is a classic color that could almost be in anyone's collection. You can see I've used that up quite a bit. And it's a little dark here, but it just blends out so nicely. And I really love the sort of like classic dusty rose color. I would recommend this to just about anyone. I love it, and it is a classic, so I'll definitely be keeping that one. This is the new California. It is so pretty, and I've been really enjoying using it this summer. You can see the bright, pretty pattern there. All the gold is gone, which was so sad that it went away so quickly. It's a little on the dark side for me, you can see. But I just have a lot of fun using this anyway. So I just use a really light hand when I apply it. I actually use the brushes that they come with to apply them. I love these little brushes for these blushes. So I will be keeping this one. Definitely need to use a light hand with that one though. It's really pigmented and quite a bit darker than I usually use. This is Hervana by Benefit. This is also a recent purchase for me, but one I've been having a ton of fun with. It's a little different of a color for me, a little bit lavendery, but again, I just love it. It goes on nice and lightly, so it's just a nice, subtle, pretty color. So that's definitely a keeper. And I still want to purchase Coralista and Sugar Bomb in the Benefit blushes. I love the formula. I would like them all. I think that they're so pretty. And let's go ahead and let's see. We'll talk about all these Too Faced ones next. These are the same. This is in Love Flush, so I only need to keep one. I might not even need to keep any. That's pretty dark. Let's see how it swatches. Oh yeah, that is way too dark for me. Yeah, I probably won't even use that at all. So I'll go ahead and pass these both along. Oh, that was in the color Love Flush Love Hangover, and this is in the color Love Flush Crazy in Love. Let's see if this one's any more usable. This one's a little bit more of the dusty rose, so it's dark, but it's a little more usable for my complexion. But that is still way too dark for me. I always run kind of reddish anyway. My face gets hot and red really easily, so I really do not need to use that kind of color on my complexion. It just looks ridiculous on me. So I'm going to go ahead and pass that along. Then we have this one here. This is in Baby Love. I got a bunch of these last year at Christmas time, I believe. That is definitely a more usable color for me, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that. And this is a color I don't use too often. This is in the color Dream Lover, but to me it's really intriguing because it's sort of a lilac-y purple color. And it's just a really interesting color. It doesn't go on super crazy pigmented, so it just gives this really interesting lilac-y touch. And it's so unique in my collection that I'm definitely going to keep that one. And this is one from NYX that I got in a subscription box called Bright Idea Illuminating Stick in the color Rose Petal Pop. And that's just a little bit too bright for me, so I think I'll go ahead and pass that along. It does blend out nice, but again, I have a lot, and that's just a little too bright. So I'll go ahead and pass that one along. And here's another stick blush. This is another one of the all over color sticks from e.l.f. like I had in my highlighter collection, but this one is quite a bit darker. This is in the color Pink Lemonade. Let's go ahead and see if this is just too dark. Whoa, that is pretty dark and very pinky. I think that's just going to be too much color for me, so I don't find myself reaching for this one either. So I'm going to go ahead and pass that one along. And then I have one blush here from MAC from their Christmas line. This is really pretty. I love the packaging too. This is called Sweet Vision Magic Dust Powder. And it's sort of like a pink with like almost like an ever so slightly gold shift to it or something. It's really hard to explain. It's really dark. Again, this is one of those colors that I just have to use a super light hand with for my complexion, but it blends out nicely, as you can see here, and it's just a really interesting and unique color. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this one. And here's one from e.l.f. here. This is Tickled Pink. It's just their classic blush. And this one is really light, which I do like. But I just don't like the formula. It just goes on kind of chunky occasionally. I do like the color, but I think I'll go ahead and pass this one along for now. And then here are all of these little Benny tints. This is the Lolly tint, the Benny tint, the Posy tint, and the another Lolly tint. And I just don't find myself using these very frequently. This one smells very rosy. Whoa, very pigmented too. This is the Benny tint. It does blend out really nicely though, but it's just not a formula I reach for. I don't really like the liquid, super liquidy tints like this. I just don't find myself reaching for them. So I'm going to go ahead and declutter all 4 of these. This is a little NARS sample I got in their classic color Orgasm, and this is definitely a nice color. I can see why it's a classic. It's just a really pretty pinky color. Doesn't go on too crazy. I get a lot of use out of this one. I may even consider buying the full size when I run out of this little one. So that's a keeper. And then I have another little NARS one. This is from the VIB Rouge gift last year. And it was really fun getting this little gift here. I wish they would have put a little bit more usable color. This is in Gulu, and it is the a blush as well. But it's really dark, for me anyway. So you can see how dark that is. I just don't use this at all. It's just way too dark for me, but I don't really want to get rid of this. I also don't really know anyone who would use this color either, so I don't think it hurts for me to keep this just because it was fun, you know, getting this little rouge package here. this is probably something I'll pass along in the future. For now, I'm going to go ahead and just keep this down underneath my sink, not in my everyday makeup drawer, just because I think it was fun to remember getting this fun little gift. So let's see, I have a few left here. We'll go ahead and talk about all of my blushes from the Balm. And again, just like Benefit, the Balm blushes are my favorite, and I would love to have some more of these. The first one I ever tried was Hot Mama. It was a recommended color. It's also a very classic color. You can see here, I know why a lot of people would love this. It's just so pretty. I just love that. It blends out really nicely. It's a really pretty color. So that's definitely a keeper. Also love the Balm's packaging. I love the retro look. It's so fun to me. So that one, I got a little sample of Frat Boy at Kohl's when I was buying a little Balm lip gloss, and I love this color. I need to buy it in full size. I've said that in the past. This has been in my favorites before. Just a really pretty pink there. I love it. It blends out nicely, and this is definitely something I really want to buy in full size. For now, I'll keep using up the little sample. And then these are two new ones that I just recently got, Balm Beach and Balm Springs. I love these. They're so fun. One is a little darker than the other. Let me see which one it is. This one is really pretty. This is Balm Beach. I'll go ahead and swatch this. So you can see it's a little on the dark side, but I really like it. It's interesting, it blends out nicely, and I think that this color is perfect for summer. It looks like it has a little bit of a tan hue to it, which I think will go along nicely as my skin gets a little bit sun-kissed this summer. So that's Balm Beach, and I'll definitely be keeping that. I still want to pick up a couple there's definitely the full-size Frat Boy, though, and any new ones they come out with. I love this formula. So this is Balm Springs. Oh yeah, this one's the one that is a little bit darker. All my fingers are turning pink here. Let's go ahead and see what this one swatches like. Oh yeah, that's definitely on the dark side for me. It didn't look that dark online, but it definitely is. But again, I can blend that out and just use a really light hand. I do love Balm Beach quite a bit more than Balm Springs, but I'm definitely going to keep them both. They're pretty new and I want to experiment with them a little bit more. And then I have these four left. This is a little sample from Ivy Beauty. Let's go ahead and see what this one looks like. Oh, it's actually a pretty color. Let's see. Oh, it's very pigmented and a very peachy color, but this is a lot like the Papa Don't Peach color. I think just because I have so many similar colors, I'm going to go ahead and pass this one along. And then this is from e.l.f. This is the Total Face Palette. This has a really nice big mirror and is a really pretty compact. The colors are all nice and light here. I'm going to go ahead and swatch all four of these. So this is how these swatch. They're really pretty and light. I don't find myself reaching for this palette very frequently, though. I tend to use, you know, separate highlighters, and I don't use bronzer much, although that color does seem like it's usable. The two blushes are really pretty. But since I don't find myself reaching for this too often, I think I'm going to go ahead and pass this along. And then this one here, I got this last year, I think in a Christmas box or something like that. This is the Blush Settle Duo. And one is a cream and one is a powder. They're very pretty. The cream is almost like a nice highlighty color. It's like almost like a highlight, a blush topper or something like that. It's really pretty. You can see it's just pretty subtle and nice. Let's go ahead and swatch the blush. That's a little on like the dark, dusty rose side there. But, as pretty as this is, I think I'm going to go ahead and pass this along as well. And lastly, I have here the Tarte color wheel with a whole bunch of blush colors. This was such a fun purchase. I love Tarte round packages. They're so pretty, and you can see it's got a little plastic separator here in the center and lots of different colors. Most of them are too dark. It does have a nice highlighter color here, you can see. It's very pretty as well. I do like that. And although I don't get a ton of use out of this palette, lots of really dark colors, a little too pigmented for me. This palette did come in very handy though. Last year my kids were all in the town Christmas production and they needed bright rosy cheeks for their stage makeup, and I let them bring along this palette. I was a little scared for it to be tumbling around the back room at the theater, but it survived, thank goodness. The kids were all really careful with it, and really thankful to have such a nice selection to bring with. All of my kids enjoyed using this. They all three found the right colors, and yeah, so it was nice that they had access to this. So I'm going to go ahead and hold on to it for that reason. I might even see what this year's color wheel is like as well. It's just fun for that purpose. And it's also fun to experiment with this many different colors, although honestly, I rarely even reach for this because the colors are really dark and pigmented, and I typically use my other colors here. So this is what I'm left with, and that is what I decluttered. So a pretty decent pile of declutters for blushes, and not too big of a pile of keeps here. This one goes down in the back of my palette drawer, so it never gets in the way, and that's a lot more reasonable amount of blushes to keep. So I'm going to go ahead now and tally up everything I got rid of, and tally up how many I kept, and let you know the final tally. This one I didn't get rid of very many items, again because highlighters are my favorite, and I just do not tend to overbuy in the blush and bronzer and foundation and powder category. I tend to keep those pretty reasonable to just the products that I'm typically using. So not a ton of declutter, but that's okay because I still cleared out the ones that I won't be using, and I definitely got back some space. So I'll be right back to show you the final tally. Okay, so I have organized my keeps and my tosses and tallied everything. As I was going through my tosses, I decided to pull this back out. This is that NYX Duochrome. It is in this sort of pinky lavendery hue here. I would just like to experiment with this a little bit more and have it as a comparison with the other sort of duochromatic highlighters that I have. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this down in my drawer. All of these products over here are products that like these front products here will go down in my drawer or in travel bags, and these bigger products will be in one of my other makeup drawers. These are all of my keeps. These are my highlighters here. This is my foundation and my primers and my blushes, and then some larger palettes. And these are all of the items that I'm getting rid of. So in the foundations, I kept 8 and tossed 4. In the primers, I kept 9 and tossed 5. In the blush and bronze category, I kept 20 and tossed 15, so that was probably one of my best categories there. And then with the highlighted categories, of course, I kept most of them at 34 and only tossing 8. So out of all of the products, I had 103 products. I kept 71 and tossed 32, so about 30%, which I think is pretty good. You can see this big pile here. This is now not having to be packed into my makeup area. It has recovered quite a bit of space, which is so nice. So although this wasn't the biggest declutter, I did get rid of a lot of the things that I won't be using and freed up a lot of space. I really like how the things are fitting in the drawers a lot better, and these have other places to go, so they won't be cluttering my main makeup drawers. The next category that I will tackle will be the rest of my eye products, mascaras, single eyeshadows, eyeliners, eyebrow products, stuff like that. And I will also go ahead and link below my previous declutters. So I hope you enjoyed this declutter. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe for more videos from April's Home. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.